Hello Flickers, and welcome to the second of our review of the remastering of the original Star Wars films.
Yes, and I brought along another one of my collection of the limited edition with the remasters, but also with the original film included. We are continuing our theme from the last review that we did, which was comparing the originals with the remastered versions.
We'll try not to make it a review of the actual film themselves. We try hard, but we are massive Star Wars fanboys, so just sometimes that comes out. But we are trying to concentrate really on what we liked and what we didn't like quite so much in terms of what was changed in the film. So, well, for this one, this is obviously the second in the original trilogy, and it, I think for the most part, we felt that it wasn't messed around with as much as the first one, right?
No, and this is, I mean, I'm slightly biased as well because this is my favourite of the original trilogy. So for me, I did pick it up probably more than we did with the other ones. Like the first one, we were quite adamant about some of the things that were changed in it and we didn't agree with them. But with this one, I felt that the things that did change weren't too much of a change. Like I thought it did add to it. Like with the first thing that obviously comes into mind is the Wampa.
Yeah.
And the extra added scene of actually answering the question is what happened to the Tauntaun. And when you see that added scene of the Wampa actually eating it before getting to Luke hanging up and being dessert, effectively. I really liked that introduction of that scene because I felt that it added to the value of the story.
Yeah,
definitely.
I completely agree with that one. That unfortunately does lead on to one of the ones I think not so good, where they added extra shots of Han coming in on his Tauntaun, and they look very fake.
Because the quality is so bad, it does take you out of the film with those kind of things. So when you spot something and you know that it's different from the original film, it does really sort of take you out, and you get annoyed by the fact that you've been taken out of the film.
Yeah, I think even more so in this film compared to the other one. Everything they added would be fine if they'd done it to within the ability of their technology.
Yeah.
None of it detracts as such. It is from the overall story of the film.
Yeah.
It's just that the visuals they add in don't look like they're part of it. I mean, jumping ahead slightly is when they get to Cloud City and they add more overhead shots of the city. That's great. It's really nice to see.
Yeah, to add to what Cloud City is, to try and make more out of it. Yeah,
it makes it a city. I mean, because they say Cloud City in the original, but you don't really see that much of it, so it's almost like it's one building. But this actually makes it a proper city. But the actual visuals look so CGI. It's almost like they came out of a Pixar film. So that's kind of that's what ruins that. If they hadn't have been if they'd have dirtied them up a little bit, made them a little bit less shiny, then it would have genuinely added something to the film.
The last time I watched the remasters was quite a long time ago, when they first came out, which is 2006, wasn't it? The copies that I've got were 2006, so the first time it was remastered. My memories of it were a little bit hazy because I think I remembered enjoying seeing things like when they're walking around on the inside of Cloud City, that they removed certain walls and actually showed the outside of it. Because now that I've rewatched it, because when you were saying about the overall, when they were flying around, that it didn't look real and stuff, that when you then saw the bits where you could actually see the rest of the city and not actually the skyline outside, that kind of ruined those particular added bits.
If you consider how long there is between the original films and these remasters, say like at minimum there's 20 years between the two films being released.
Oh, longer, 30. Yeah,
minimum. At minimum,
well over 30.
But at minimum 20. And they still weren't able really to do what they wanted to do and make it look good. You kind of think to yourself, George Lucas was definitely trying to punch well above
Well,
what he was capable of.
which is weird because when you think of actually the level of technology with CGI, with Jurassic Park coming out in '93, and the quality of that CGI,
and Terminator 2. I mean, that's
Terminator. Yeah, even Terminator 2. That was '95.
Yeah,
'95. So with those two films and the quality of that, and don't forget the quality of the films that shall not be named, but they were in the 2000. That was the last one was in 2004, 2005.
Yeah.
So with the level of technology that was available for those, why wasn't that quality then passed on to the remasters?
Especially when you consider that Lucas was dealing with what we consider to be pretty much the forerunners of film technology. I mean, Lucasfilm,
Well, that's what
they're
Industrial Light and
Magic
was
and
set up.
They are, they are genuinely. The idea was that they would be at the forefront of film technology, and they were.
They were. I mean, during the first release of the '77, so the first theatrical release, '77, the quality of that was beyond anyone else's.
Oh yeah, I mean, it looks. It looks like Europey now, but yeah, for the time. I mean, I remember as a child when I saw it in VHS, and it was like magic.
And it was.
And it was.
It really was. But and I think that's probably what a lot of people were expecting when the remaster was coming, was that kind of level to commitment of enhancing the stories, not just adding stuff in because you could, but actually giving bits over that maybe the budget didn't allow when the first time was around, or maybe something that wasn't budgeted for, the technology wasn't available at the time, which is what we covered with Jabba.
And I think this film, more than A New Hope, matches that brief. They definitely tried to increase the scope of the film.
And I'll play the advocate again because I did last time. But I understand why it was added in, especially after you've gone and created the films that shall not be named. Before the scale that they bring, you've got all these different new worlds, new cities, and all these amazing designs and stuff, that when you're remastering it and you're trying to bring it along and fit it into what you've just created and kind of back that up, then you have to kind of give the same scale to your original films. And it was limited by money and its technology at the time, so you weren't able to kind of give that over. It could have been done with models, and then you could have then enhanced it a little bit, which is one of the things that you do get from the drone that lands on Hoth.
Yeah.
That very first the very first thing that comes up, when you watch the original, you see that it's a model and it's brought up, and you can see that it's a bit quirky and it's not really moving. But the brilliant bit, which is like you were saying, that hits the brief, is the fact that when you watch that, it's exactly the same clip, but the CGI has enhanced the look of the droid, so it makes it look better than the original, and that's what's so good about these things in the Empire Strikes Back. There are less things in it that I think really take you out and don't fit in it. I mean,
I think in this one I agree. It's the scenes that are in there make sense. I can't think of one that doesn't. I think they're all definitely there to enhance the story, rather than try to pad it out. And there are a few scenes in New Hope which felt like they were there to pad the film out. But this for this one, for Empire Strikes Back, it does feel like what was added was there to enhance what already existed.
Yeah, definitely. Especially like really subtle. I mean, that's the thing. There were some really subtle differences, like the escape for Lando, Leia, and Chewbacca and the droids. When they were fleeing from the stormtroopers in the remaster, there were more stormtroopers there, as if there was a real threat to them leaving. It wasn't just like a leftover group.
And that's kind of good, because in the original film, it does kind of feel like there's just all they've done is they've landed with a couple of troops and that's it. Yeah. Whereas in this one, it does feel like there's a small army, and it should be, because Lando goes over the comms and he says, the Empire have taken over, there'll be more coming. So The idea that
Yes.
when you look at
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
it looks like there's only a couple of troops there. You kind of think yourself, well, surely they could fight back.
To back him up even more, you know, just introducing the stormtroopers, of course, and showing a bigger force. But you saw outside Cloud City, and you saw groups of people. Again, playing the advocate, it is because of the scale that you've got with the names of the films that shall not be named. So you have to add that in to balance it out. There's no overall thing that I can say that is bad about the remastered version. Only the quality of what was replaced.
This is the problem.
Like the first entrance of the Millennium Falcon coming into land. It's flat. I mean, it's so thin, so that when you've got this overall cut, and literally it's about the width of my hand, so it flies in, but then when it goes to land, there's like another thickness right underneath it. You see how wide the actual Millennium Falcon is when it lands.
It does. It looks almost like they had a scaling issue when they were bringing the thing in. Like they made this model and they put the wrong scale in for the depth. The original films, the quality was so astoundingly great that you can't ruin them really with these things. You notice the issues when they happen because the original quality was so high.
Yeah.
This is the issue. If they had taken as much care and time and money to do the additions as they did to do the original film, nobody would be complaining.
The one thing I love about the story is that although you've been introduced to all the main cast and everything in the first film, this really sort of brings more of the Empire side to it. So you're getting to know what sort of size and what kind of power the Empire bring. The fact that they've had the Death Star destroyed, and then they've got like the Superstar destroyers. I love that. And you have that huge ship. It's an amazing design. I absolutely love that. But the fact that the fleet is so big as well, and that again, that's the other thing that I like as well, is the additions to increasing the size of the fleet that you see and everything as well. That's another thing, just showing how powerful the Empire really is.
Thanks for watching the video, and if you did like it, then please hit the like button, and if you want to see more from us, then please hit subscribe.
And don't forget to leave a comment below, and if you've got any suggestions for films that we should be reviewing in the future, please leave us a nice little message. Oh, and check out our previous videos.